In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to make the base part for the Quick Make toaster, or the toast rack. Start off by loading up SolidWorks, click on New in the top left corner, and double click here to make a new part. Once I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this Features tab that I've got here, if that's not already selected, and I'm going to make a new extruded boss base by clicking just there. Okay, before we do get into that though and get too far down that road, I just want you to make sure that in this bottom right corner that the computer's set up to work in millimeters. If it's not, sometimes it likes to go over to inches, then your project's going to end up enormous. So let's click on Extruded Boss Base and let's create a new part that's going to sit flat on the tabletop once it's finished, just here like this. So I'm going to grab a corner rectangle, which is the shape just here, and I'm going to use that to roughly create the approximate size of the base piece of my toast rack. Make sure before you do anything else that the very first click that you make starts at this origin point just here. You see this axis that you've got, and if I move my mouse over it, you see a little orange circle appearing there. So I'm going to click and hold there, and I'm making it about 100 wide and about 50 tall. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to use the dimension tool just here, look, to make sure we set specific sizes. So that's 100 and that's 50, like so. What I'm then going to do then is grab another rectangle and I'm going to put my notch in the middle of my toast holder, because that's where the upright piece is going to sort of be slotted in. And what I need, and you can see the computer's helping me here as well, is I need another sort of rectangle. I'm going to cut a notch in a minute, which will sort of live partly on that bottom edge and sort of come into the shape like so. We've not got all black lines yet, so we're not fully defined. So what I'm going to do is grab a bit more smart dimensioning, and I'm going to say that I want the overall width of this to be about 20 millimeters, the overall height of this piece to be about 3 millimeters. It's starting to get a bit hard to see, so I'm just going to quickly click on here to zoom and fit my model. Incidentally, you might, by this point, have accidentally clicked and held down the middle mouse button and spun your shape around at some point. You see, you can spin the shape in 3 dimensions, and that makes it quite tricky to work out what's going on. If you ever do that, you can quickly reset the view by clicking here and looking again at the top surface. Anyway, as I was saying, so what I'm going to do is get some more dimensions going on. Let's say the dimension of this, that's going to be 20 millimeters as well. The height of this is going to be 3 millimeters, and we need to give it a little bit more detail as well. I need to tell the computer whereabouts this block actually sits, how far it is from here to here. So I reckon if I click once on this edge, if I zoom in a bit, you can hold the mouse wheel to do that. When I click once on this edge, I can tell the computer what this distance just here is. Let's think about this for a second. If overall that distance is 100, okay, 100, and this distance here is 20, and I want this to sit in the middle, what distance does that need to be? Well, 100 take away 20 is 80, and if I divide the remaining space between these two sections, that's 80 divided by 2, that gives me the number 40. So this distance here is 40. Okay, so that bit there's nice and happy. I need to decide whereabouts I'd like to have this sit. I reckon for this one what I'll do is I'll put that about 20 millimeters from the top. So I'm going to click once on this edge, once on this edge, so the computer knows what distance we're measuring, and I'm going to type 20 in there, and I'm also going to pop this nice and central as well, so that also needs to be 40 millimeters from the outside, and I'll pop that dimension there just so it's nice and easy to read. So what I've now got, because I've provided all that information, is I've now got a fully defined model. You see at the bottom here it says fully defined. That's a really, really good sign, and if you get to that point, then you know you're doing something right. The final step in this process is going to be just to cut this notch out, because at the moment I've actually got 2 lines sat over the top of each other. I've got a line that was formed when I drew that initial rectangle, and I've also got the line that was formed when I drew this second rectangle. So I've got 2 things here I need to trim out. So I'm going to grab this Trim Entities tool. I'm going to make sure that I choose the option that says Trim to Closest. A lot of people forget to do that, so make sure you're not one of them. Trim to Closest, and over here I can click once, twice, and I've now cut that notch out of my piece of work. Okay, so that is what the finished 2D shape looks like. So now I've finished sketching, I can exit that sketch and I can pull it up into 3 dimensions. So I'll move my mouse into the top left-hand corner and choose Exit Sketch. The computer now pulls my shape into 3D formula, and I could choose a sort of a random amount of of extrusion, as we call it, of pulling up, but I want to be much more specific than that, because again I want a fully defined part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the number I want. Now we use 3mm MDF in school, so the height of the piece of work is going to be 3mm. So I'll type 3 in there and hit the enter key, and that snaps that down into place for me. Again, I can look at it straight from the top still, or I can look at a nice 3D view of it. That looks pretty good as well. But I reckon I'm there now. So I'm going to click on this green tick, and I've now got my first complete part for my toast rack. Okay. If in the future I want to go back and add some more detail to this, which I'm going to do right now actually, I can get back in here at any time by clicking on that surface, right clicking, and then choosing the option that says Edit Sketch. That gives me my dimensions back, and I can then set the camera up so I can see. What I want to do this time is I'd like to add some nice curves on these corners, because in here at the moment this is quite a square angular shape, and it'd be much nicer if it was a bit more smooth on the corners. So I'm going to use this tool here called a sketch fillet, and what that does is it cuts little arcs, parts of circles, into corners for you. So I'm going to make the corner parts quite smooth. I'm going to go for maybe 5mm fillet. You can experiment with different values. I'm just going to click once in this corner. You can see and get an idea already of what that's going to look like with these 4 corners. Okay, click on the green tick to put that in place. I'm done with filleting now, so I'll tick that off. And now let's exit that sketch once again. I've now got a really nice curved corner on my part, on my model, and it's still fully defined. So the last step to do is going to be to save the piece of work in my H drive, so that I've got that all ready to form an assembly with once I've made the upright part. And so that is how you make the base piece.